Hey, this time I've kind of written out an outline. I'm going to sum up now. But before I sum up, I've got to cover where this is all leading at the end. Kept saying, we're royal family of God, we're body of Christ, we're going to be kings in eternity. We started out with a bunch of verses that were in the video description from episode 1. I hope you've looked at them by now because there's so many. What does that mean, kingship in eternity? I mean, we've got a generic idea of it, but how does it actually play? Well, there's 2 stages of kingship that we're going to experience. Okay? The first one is the kingship in the millennium, because Israel is going to be the queen nation in the millennium, and there are all these Gentile nations that will, as it were, be in a federation under her. Of course, he's the king of Israel in the millennium, but there are all these Gentile nations. Well, who's going to be king over those Gentile nations? Well, those of us in church who won kingships are going to be winning 2 kinds of kingships. First, we're going to have an eternal kingship. We get that award at the Bema. That starts at the minute the tribulation begins. We have our award ceremony. But secondly, there's a temporary kingship that we have over Gentile nations that are going to be during the millennium when he comes back. So each person, and I'm not quite sure how this works yet. I'm not sure if in order to get the millennial kingship, you have to also get an eternal kingship. Alright, they seem to be tied together, but I can't prove it. So it could be that some among us will be millennial kings, but not eternal kings. It could be that in order to get a millennial kingship, you have to have an eternal kingship award. And bear in mind, just like here on earth, you can be a king of a small country or a large one. Alright? All of that is designed to glorify Christ. It's not like the Mormon idea. Okay? It is all about the more you have to throw down your crown for him. So you want the biggest crown possible, obviously, and nobody's equal, because we don't equally choose to learn him. It's not like the world down here where you have inherent limitations imposed on you. There are no limitations down here as far as spiritual learning goes. Whatever you want to know of him, you can know. Alright, and I hopefully have demonstrated in my videos and web pages that all you have to do is ask, because there's nothing special about me. But there's a whole lot special about that information. And all I did was ask, because I didn't understand what my pastor was saying. And I have to get a lot of information before I understand the answer. Alright, and a lot of that stuff in the web pages and in the videos isn't known in Christendom. Alright, so there's nothing special about brain out. So you ask, you get. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you were. Anybody can ask of God and get whatever he wants. That's the theme of James 1. That's also the theme of Hebrews 1 and 2. Because Christ asked everything. And he never sinned because he got everything. Because he wanted it. Alright, that's the same legacy for us. So this kingship thing in the millennium and in eternity is solely based on how much you wanted to learn him. And God gives to everybody who asks. Okay? James 1. And James 1 is about the crown. Alright? So, we're going to be unequal kings. We've got 2 stages of kingship, 2 stages of kingship inheritance. Millennium and eternity. Because we are body of Christ. And he rules over even the angels. Now, the angels have their own kingdom. But we're going to be, he's King of Kings, Lord of Lords. As Lord of Lords, he's king over the angels. That's a separate kingdom, that's sort of, federated under him also. But we are going to be kings over everybody, Old Testament and New, in eternity. During the millennium, we are only kings over Gentile nations, those among us who get those awards. Okay, we'll be big kings, we'll be little kings, we'll be, assistants to kings. Everybody's under somebody else. It's a hierarchy. Okay, it's like nested dolls. All right. So that's the way it's going to be in the millennium and eternity. Now, that brings up the whole question of corporateness. Why do we have this structure? Because perfection is a perfection of number. It's a perfection of the dots fitting together. You can see that even in math. You take out one dot in, a series, and the whole series is incomplete. Okay, that's how infinity works. That's filling all in all, Ephesians 1:15 through 23. And that's actually the passage that's telling you the church unifies everything. Ephesians 1:10 is telling you that we sum up the trial. Okay, tribulation is a postscript in the angelic conflict trial. And so the corporateness is what you focus on here. That's why we have all this federation of kingdoms. Okay, it's just like a series in math, a series of numbers, from all the way at the bottom to all the way at the top. All right, filling all in all, Ephesians 1:23. So notice how the parallel, okay, has always been the same since the angels, since before man was even created. All right, you had a number, you had a composite mix of angels that God initially created. It was perfect in number, it was perfect in composition, and they were freely, perfectly able to choose how much more about God they wanted to learn. Okay, and the amount that they wanted to learn more, they got. No matter what it was. If they wanted it, they got it. And if they didn't, well, they didn't. Now, that initial composite, of course, then becomes a dynamic that can become imperfect. And it did. Satan rejected it. A third of the angels went with him. It took some time for all that conflict to play out. And, of course, the angels were going on either side with God or with Satan. They're not equally electing either. And there's been all this debate in theology. Did all the angels sin at one point? I think yes. My pastor used to think that. And then at the tail end, he reversed it. And I can defend either position. But the point is they didn't equally elect to learn God. They're not equal, the angels. All right, so now you have a shift in the dynamic of perfection. You have a perfection of number. If there's a shift or a change, if it's dynamic, then there's a change in what's perfect now become imperfect. It was in balance. The number sine qua non of perfection is balance. What makes God perfect is his balance. Okay, he chooses to stay in balance. All right, he doesn't have to, but he does. He chooses it. Okay, so there's a perfection in balance. Okay, but it's now imbalanced once the angels rebelled, and they stay rebelled. Okay, so 1/3 of the angels now it's suddenly cut out of the picture. What's going to graft in and replace? And that's where Deuteronomy 32:8 comes in. The replacement of the angels. All right, that's a very interesting verse because it's got two different readings in the Hebrew and the Greek. All right, so that's where man comes in now to the trial. First of all, to replay the very same issues that the angels had to go through on a lower creation that Satan could influence. I think that's where I am in the outline. Let me see. Yeah. And secondly, to replace the numbers that were lost.